segment for those new people, what we do is you bring stuff that you've made recently or want to do, and so you bring it. So what we have is what we call show and tell. And so I'm going to move this just a little bit, Bob, and we'll start, let's just start right here. The bulk of the puzzles that you see on here are Karl's. Okay? Is that not, is this yours, George? Okay, this is Karl's.
That's Diane's.
Or this is Diane's. This is going from, I apologize. Bob, does that help you? Mm-hmm. Okay, but anyway, so that's more of a simple one. It's what we call, this is what we call a, what type of puzzle?
Tray puzzle.
Tray puzzle.
That was in a Patrick Spillman book.
Yeah, everybody understand what a tray puzzle is? Okay, tray puzzle means that there is a back to it. And there's usually a, oh, I apologize. I forget. There's a back to it, so there's a solid back. And then there's usually a frame, and then the pieces fit in that frame. So it's called a tray puzzle. A lot of puzzles for young kids, the tray puzzles work very well because the kids now have it's a set parameter and they can kind of put the pieces in. Now, since we went to here, I'm also going to go here because I know that this is Diane's also. And that is not a tray puzzle. It could be a tray puzzle, but it's a, let me take it out of here, I think we can see it better. But this particular one is interesting because I've made this same puzzle without this and here as a standalone puzzle out of 3/4 inch. And that was on the cover of Scroll Saw magazine. But she couldn't find it. So I found her the pattern she needed out of the Scroll Saw magazine. She couldn't find her Scroll Saw magazine for that period of time. Okay, then any more Diane's up here? The cow?
No, that's all.
Okay, then Karl is aficionado. We're going to start from what I'm going to call, this is conventional. This is taking a picture. Let's go this way. Does that work pretty good standing them up there, guys? When we stand them up here, does it work pretty good? That's just a picture of something, and then what it's done is it's basically glued, and we're going to talk some of that today, or Karl will talk about that.
There's a little story behind that one, I'll tell you.
Okay.
That is a Chick-fil-A calendar picture.
Ah.
And if you zoom in close, I'll talk about this later, but if you zoom in close, you'll notice that the puzzle pieces are cut around the shapes themselves. It's called a line cutting or color cutting. You can pass it around, it's easier to see. Now, the story behind that was I met this marketing director with Chick-fil-A, and she was interested in me coming to the Chick-fil-A restaurants and cutting puzzles for all the kids. Mm-hmm. Buying all the calendars myself, all the materials myself, and giving out to thousands of kids.
Yeah,
you can see that
the deal didn't work out.
It would have cost me a lot of money in the end.
Yeah.
So
okay.
We didn't make the deal.
Yeah. Okay. Then the other ones, there's a number of them, and is it okay to pass a couple of them?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. But he likes to make stuff puzzle. All of these are puzzles, and he's going to show us how he does these today. But this puzzle is just, I mean, I don't see how you cut it. And he's going to talk about how he cuts them and cuts them straight. This one's interesting. I'm going to call this a semi-tray puzzle. From the standpoint is, yes, there's no tray, but it's a trayless border puzzle because it's got a border which is solid around it. If you'll see it, it's probably easier to pass these because they're tiny. This one, you know, just like doing your turning, he took and put wood together to create his thing. I would say this is probably just a little over maybe 1/4 inch thick. It's hard to see with the...
Have you ever worked any of those, Karl?
Okay.
Once you cut them, have you ever taken them apart and put them back together?
I purposely put them together as I cut.
Here's an interesting one right here, more of a geometric. I'm trying to get the angle for you.
Mm-hmm. You got it.
Okay, that's a geometric. Okay, here's a, explain this one to me.
Well, that one is a tray puzzle, you can call it a tray puzzle also.
With a thick bottom?
It's got a thick bottom as the tray, it's got the board around it,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and the way I cut it, it has a piece of plexiglass on top. Only because, before I shrink wrap them, I just had a plexiglass to keep it from getting damaged.
I mean, those pieces are so,
So
Right.
on that one, if you kind of hold it sideways, you can see how thick, there you go, see how thick the maple is? So I'll stack cut one piece of maple and one piece of walnut, and I'll flip it back up. So after I have everything cut out, I just interchanged a few of the pieces.
Okay.
So there's an exact duplicate, just opposite colors.
Yeah, like what we do with marquetry.
here's another one that he did. Here's another one. Those pieces are small, aren't they? He's gonna tell us how to do that.
No, those are large, these are small.
That one,
No, that one was, I wouldn't like to do that one.
that puzzle right there,
Okay,
I
this
don't know
one,
if y'all remember, Diane made a cutting board with an ink jig
yeah,
with the different sizes of walnut and maple,
and this was the,
and that's the cutoff. So I just resawed them and glued them together again and made a tray out of it, of the slab.
okay, now, we're gonna go, this was kind of, this is another, what I would consider a tray puzzle. And what's unique about this is, if you look around, do I have the reflection off of it now?
No, that's good enough.
Tip it up a little higher.
That looks
No,
good.
the other
up
tip
there.
up.
Right there.
Whoops.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
completely bad.
that's good there.
Okay, if you look right here, most of those pieces right there are all the same size. And they're all the same. Now this one, because of the way it's offset a little bit, you get some over here that are smaller, but the bulk of the pieces are the same size. To make a puzzle the hardest you can, make the pieces look all the same. In this case, they're all the same. That wood, if you don't look at the grain, you got a big problem. But anyway.
That's why he shrink wraps them.
Okay, now,
So he never worked one.
now this was an interesting one. This is also, see if I can get the right angle now. How close am I, guys?
Tip it, there.
Right there.
Right there.
Okay, this is also a tray puzzle. Those pieces, I would say maybe, if they're a ½ inch wide, they're a ½ inch long. They're probably ½ inch by ½ inch. But if you'll see, it's 4-leaf clover,
3-leaf.
3-leaf clover, okay, and then some kind of design on the inside. I don't recognize it.
It's the same as the outside, just shrunk down.
Okay, I got you. But what I'm saying, so it's a tray puzzle, but the person, I mean, it's a single, I guess you'd call it a single line tray, because you're putting one piece in a groove that he's got in this board here. Because what he has is this board is double thickness. And then he put the two pieces together. Am I close? Can you see?
You break a lot of blades.
No, very little.
Okay, now the other thing that he does, I'm saving these for a second here. Then the other side, this is what we talked about, presentation on Saturday, presentation and whatever. This is a puzzle. It's a puzzle of, it looks like some kids and a family, probably with a Model T and an older type. That he put the picture of what the puzzle is. He's put it in a plastic box, which you can get at Hobby Lobby or whatever. And then he's put the package. He put the puzzle itself in a Ziploc bag, and it's not together. So it's a puzzle. I mean, it's a true wood puzzle, which we're going to talk more about it, but it's a classic. It's a classic. It's something that would be built. Maybe they would build it 2 or 3 times. Maybe when the family was together for certain events or whatever. And the more they build it, the puzzle itself becomes more of an heirloom. It becomes an heirloom type puzzle. Okay. Now,
How do you know what it's supposed to be?
there's a picture. He's got a pic. He has a picture right there
Oh, okay.
that he's put on. See, but he could have been mean and not put a picture on it.
The ultimate job.
I'm sorry. But anyway, that's there and you'll see it when you go down. Now, this is where he gets crazy. Okay? You've heard of postage stamps? Oops.
Zoom in.
Look at the size of that. That's okay. He's going to focus in 1 second here.
And that's 32 pieces.
Well, to be honest with you, this particular one is only, it's, to the best of my knowledge, is only 3 pieces. We'll pass a couple.
Back there.
Well, I don't want to put it in the back of mine. The only one I got up here, I mean, you know. But anyway, he's got a whole, we're going to do, just, well, we can just throw it in here. But see, this is a whole box he's got. Let's see if I can get the angle right without losing them all. Is that okay?
Carl's not for this planet.
But anyway, he likes to saw. Here's one, 6 pieces. You know, you don't have to see the pattern. I mean, you just, okay, here's one. This one looks like it's, there's 6 pieces.
Bring a little puzzle.
Okay. Here's a family portrait. It's only 6 pieces. I mean, you know, see, it doesn't take him long to do it with only 6 pieces.
Carl, how long have you been out of the institution?
They just let him out and come to me.
8 pieces,
Oh,
guys.
okay.
8. But anyway, here's a whole box of them. I mean, Carl, I don't see how, he's going to show us how he does those today.
What size blade do you use for those?
Those, I forgot to bring the blades.
I
But it's an
Right,
8-aught
lost 'em.
blade.
You have to borrow one of mine,
You're
huh?
using those 10-aught or something, aren't you?
8-aught.
8-aught?
Yeah. Then another thing that Carl does, which is kind of cool, he'll get scraps of burls and stuff that somebody else, maybe the turners cut off or didn't need or whatever, and then he makes whatever out of them. And here's 2. They're going to be hard to see, I think, in the camera, but they're probably, I can't tell you. There's one piece here that's probably 2 inches by 1 inch, and then there's a piece in here that's a half by a half.
Turn it over and you can see why I cut it that way, because
The grain and the knots.
sections and the knots
And the knots and stuff, but I'm saying, it just makes a very interesting puzzle, which the wood in itself is the picture, which I think they're just phenomenal. And then here, I mean, look at this. I mean, this is, most people throw this in the trash. Let's see if I can get it, hold it for you, I'm sorry. But this was a piece of wood, I don't know what kind it is.
That is spalted pecan.
Spalted pecan wood, and I know that all the turners would have thrown this in the trash if this, when it got down to this size. And if you look at these pieces, they're nice and you look at the puzzle pieces, they're nice and square. They're all curlicues like this. They're all spirally cut. Okay, but he's going to show us how to do that today. Hey, it's nice to have this much show and tell. Now, I've got 2 here. This is what I'm going to show off tonight. This is what I call one-cut puzzles. This is called one cut. And that's what we're going to do tonight. I'll show you how to do one of those. That's a one-cut puzzle. And then this is my presentation is in this box. Okay? And then, this is one, when I left here, Diane and I were standing at the front, and I don't think that person's in here today, I don't think. Somebody came and brought a little bundle of walnut and a little bundle of spring. Said, can anybody use it? It was little tiny stuff. Well, I went home and made this on Saturday. I had more fun. Okay? And the nice part about this is I used to make the border. This is a tray puzzle. This is a tray puzzle because it has a bottom. But I used to make this as one piece. I'd drill a hole here, then I'd cut that out, and then I'd drill a hole here, and cut the outside and put the tray, and glue this down, and then what I'd do is cut the outside, and then I'd be flush. Well, this one I did differently. What I did is I basically cut my pieces so I had the same width, and then what I did, my bandsaw I had my bandsaw gauged up to this, so I didn't want to change my bandsaw. I didn't want to mess with it. So what I did is I took my disc sander, and rotated the guide to 60 degrees is what I needed for this object. And then all I did is sanded that to 60 degrees and left it hang out to here. Okay? Then I did another piece. And sanded it here, 60 degrees, and let it stick out. I did another piece and let it stick out. This one I let it stick out on both sides, okay? Then I did this one at 60 degrees and let it stick out this way. Then I did this one at 60 degrees and let it stick out. And then what I did is glued these 5 up, put them down, put a board on them, put a weight on top of it, so I didn't have this one cut. It's the side, it's this top side if you look. Then what I did is after it was glued, then I cut one end of the board at 60 degrees, fit it in, kind of guessed where this other one would be, cut it to 60 degrees, and then just kept taking a little bit off of time until I got it to fit exactly.
They call it cheap.
But
Creeping.
all of that was out of scrap, all thin scrap. But anyway, that's that. And did I get everybody's? Is there somebody else that's holding out on me? And I want to say thank you, everybody who brought it. I mean, because it shows people what they can do and what they can't do. If we can get, George, why don't you go up there and start doing, why don't you show me what you're going to do? And explain to the group what you're going to do. I'll go last. Oh, one thing, while he's getting ready, one item that I saw that works really nice, and I think Karl will understand this more than anybody else. We all kid around and he does these short ones, but I've heard the horror stories of Karl doing a puzzle and all of a sudden it falls on the floor. And trying to find those pieces is near impossible. Yes, sir.
I'll explain what he's talking about. I did a jigsaw puzzle the size of a business card with over 200 pieces.
Oh my God.
And it dropped.
I had it sitting on the counter next to me. About 5 minutes after I cut the last one, my phone rang. I turned on my elbow and knocked it on the floor.
Okay.
Lost 4 pieces.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, when I scroll saw, this is just a rule, I want everybody to take this home.
Are you gonna put this together? Look at George.
But there's only, hey, there's not another one like it because every method of doing puzzles that we're going to show tonight has been done on that puzzle. And guess what size that puzzle is, sir?
What's that? Oh, okay. Anybody want to look at this here and see if they want to?
But it is every method that we're doing tonight. So only person in this group I would never do a puzzle that way, but I did part of it single cut, I did regular cut, I did a pattern cut, and I also put animals in it. Okay, but this
Sorry, George.
already losing pieces. You're gonna, they were all there.
Business cards.
Oh, that was my business. Okay. This has been a very handy. Oh, and the other thing I was going to say, if you're puzzle cutting like this, please turn off your dust collector. It can be your nemesis. I'm just letting you know that. I mean, I'm telling you now. I mean, your whole puzzle could go up and. Okay, people laugh, huh? Yes, sir.
I just wanted to mention one thing about the We're teaching a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old. I had them cut a piece out of a rectangular piece of wood, take the inside home and draw a picture on it. And when our daughter brought them next week, they just cut it the way they wanted to.
And like I said, they're the right age to do it. Perfect age. Perfect age. Now, this is a handy item. I started off with one that was made out of 1/4-inch material, and it got bumped around a little bit. But what this is this is where I put my small pieces. Okay? Got a screen on the bottom. What's great about that is this. I laughed about turning off the suction. I put my pieces in here, and I go like this and get all the dust off of all my pieces with the vacuum. And it gets all that little fine dust you have on. You shake it a little bit, just like you would a sieve. And what I say, it's a cool way, and it becomes the thing. And if you notice, I got a little recess on the bottom, so when you set it on the table and you throw the dust kind of gathers down, I'll pass it around. But I mean, that's what I use. It becomes very, and that was all made out of scrap wood. If I did another one, I'd make it a little bit larger. It was a little bit small for that puzzle I just did for him. Okay, George. George is going to show us what, George?
Would you call him King George? Cause my name's George too, and I guess
It's by George.
yeah.
By George.
Make him just King
Yeah,
George.
but I have to say, but he is the best George.
I'm not gonna touch that.
I wouldn't either.
Boy,
You're going to show us.
Well, you'll notice first,
There's a 5 in there.
I don't care what it is.
I can fix that for you. You want me to fix that for you?
The table has a pretty good size hole in it.
I heard somebody
You start-
talking
you-
about that.
You start working with real small pieces, material, you need to do something that makes that a zero clearance.
Okay, we're going to solve that right now, sir.
You got two more
If
solutions
anybody's
over here.
interested in it,
We're going to solve
you're
it.
gonna take over.
No, I'm just going to help you solve it.
Shut up. Now, if you use this, you gotta hold that in place while you're working.
No, hadn't done it.
Hey, who's giving this demonstration?
This is one method.
There you go.
Go ahead, George.
Do it different ways. I'm doing that intentionally because I know what you're going to do. So that's one method.
Go ahead, George.
That's one method. You see that? Can we turn the overhead camera on?
Yep.
Overhead's high.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know what you're going to do. That's why I did this. That's There it is. Okay, so that's just a business card or whatever. That's one method.
Sure you took the bye, George.
It's your turn,
Get your club out, George.
I've had 3 so far.
Better jump in there.
If anybody needs any of these, I have some extra ones. I'll be glad to give you one. This is magnetic. Your wife probably has some sticking on the refrigerator that adds that people have given us. You take that, just run it up on the blade. And they give you a zero clearance, so you cut these little small pieces, they won't fall through. And the actual edges of this thing won't bother you at all because you'll be.
I'd like to have one of them, George, if you don't mind.
Okay, I'll put some in the car. Remind me next time you see me, it'll be in the car. You can drop by my house and pick it up, either one.
Okay, that'd be good.
But, I can't remember the guy's last name, but, his first name is George also. His son works at a, motel or hotel, and they get telephone books in, and he got, a whole supply of telephone books, one for every room, and they don't put they pull all these things off, so he gave me a stack of them to use. That's magnetic, and it's easy to put on there, and you can use it over and over. So, once you use it, you can take it off and put it down and use it several times.
And if you cut yourself, you know who to call.
Well, you get blood on you, can blood on you, you just wipe it off.
On the phone number on there
Phone number's
for an
the
attorney.
doctor.
Yeah.
There's Gary Martin, Hayes, and Associates.
Yeah, there you go.
What I think this was an idea I got from Carl. I'm not sure of that. Cutting Christmas cards. Didn't you introduce
I
that?
have a video of it.
Do you? Okay. I have a friend in Columbia, South Carolina that is just crazy about Mickey Mouse. Her Christmas card to me a couple of years ago had Mickey Mouse on it, which I didn't think was very much like Christmas, but nevertheless, she likes him. So what I did, I cut a Christmas card out of her, I cut a puzzle out of her Christmas card and sent it back to her. And most people seem to like that. I've got a couple here. This is a Jewish friend of mine. She didn't send me a Christmas card. She sent me a New Year card. But I'll cut this one out and make a puzzle and send it back to her. You don't have to have. I'm sure he's going to get into this later tonight, but you don't have to have a pattern like this to put on your puzzle to do it. After you cut a few of them, if you remember 2 or 3 years ago at the woodworking show, we had a setup where people would come in, we'd actually take their photograph, make a print of it, and glue it to a piece of wood. And we had 3 saws working. We worked all 3 days, I believe, as hard as we could go, cutting puzzles for people. And, we had advertising there telling them that to have a puzzle made for your grandchild or something like that, so that the people would have their picture taken, and they'd take their grandchild a picture of them with a puzzle on it. Cutting a puzzle, I'll have.
By the way, while George is talking about that, we are considering now doing that again for this year's show in March.
Are you?
Any interest in that?
Yeah.
I hear a yeah. Hear an amen over there?
I might add that when we talked about doing those for that first year, Rob came up with the idea. Of course, he uses those crazy blades, and he said he could use that. So no, you cannot use that on puzzles. He proved me wrong. He had a real small blade, and he did an outstanding job of cutting puzzles with it. But most of us know exactly what we need in a puzzle. You've got to have the interlocking pieces in it, and I don't know whether it's worth showing you here. When I cut one, I just start in from the side like that. As long as you have your lock joints on it, you can see how easy that is. You start that way and just work your way across, and each row like that, and there's no trouble at all. That's the way we cut those at the woodworking show. If we'd have had to put another board on top of that with the pattern on it and cut it through, or any other method we had, it would have taken us so much time, we probably wouldn't have gotten half of them done.
Well, George, you got a pattern on the top of that now?
No.
You cut by, you just cut your
Between the
imagination?
ears.
Oh, okay.
No, all you need to do is be sure that each piece has a couple locks on it like that, and you can see that fits in real well.
The more you do, it's easier to, he's done it for so many years that,
Yeah, it's easy.
George, you do it with the picture faced up as opposed to face down?
Yeah, well, I hadn't had any problem with that at all. I use the reverse blades, which gives you pretty clean backing on it too. So you notice with that, as long as you use a good blade, it's not fuzzy at all. I'll cut a couple more of this, and then we'll pass this around and let you look at it.
By doing it this way, freehand, and not a pattern, you can make sure, let's say if there's as a picture of something, it doesn't really look good if you cut a line right through the eye of something. So he's got the ability.
Well, the kid, we made a bunch of puzzles for kids, and they love to watch you cutting them. As I was cutting one, I said, "Oh, you cut my shoulder." I said, "Watch this," and I'd cut it, and I'd cut it around his eye like that, so his eye would come out. That would be one of the little tabs like this, be around his eye. They got a big kick out of watching that.
What size blade is that?
This is a number 5 blade here.
Yeah,
And when you're cutting kids puzzles, I recommend using a 3 or a 5. And if you're cutting adult puzzles and you're cutting real small pieces, you probably want to go with the puzzle blade. The puzzle blade is very, very thin.
Does it make any difference about the wood as far as fuzzies are concerned, George?
I guess it would. This is just some scrap wood that somebody gave me.
Is that fiberboard?
No, it's plywood. I'll pass it around in a minute.
Well, I have to listen.
unlike Carl's puzzles, none of my pieces are the same size. I went downhill, but,
And George, you wanna put it in there, so
I'll put it
To
in
me,
there.
that would be hard to keep it somewhat lined up and not get large, small, all in the same
Yeah,
row.
if
you know,
you
but,
you have to pay close attention to what you're
Right.
doing. I'll go
Especially
ahead.
with a pattern on it.
That's enough of that. I'll throw these in the box if somebody wants to put them together.
It's over there.
Questions? Any questions for George? That's a great way to, I guess that's, I don't know if that's called regifting or not. It's probably, it's called recarding, I guess, huh?
Hey, George, what kind of paste do you use to put the picture on the back of the board?
I use the 3M number 7 to 7 glue. I spray the board and the back of the picture and wait a few minutes and they get real tacky. And it's best to cut your board a little larger. And so when you put it on there, you just put it any way you want to, and then you can cut around the border of it. That's what I did with these today. If you try to cut the board the same size as the picture to start with, you get it just the least bit off, you've goofed up. But some of the patterns that are using, these are good kids patterns. You'll notice the animals in that.
Did you use the blue tape on that, George? You use your blue tape on it?
No,
You stuck the pattern right through?
I have made a few where I put just a light coat of glue on it, but I think they're gonna have better methods here tonight for doing it, so let's wait.
Picture to stay in it.
Let's wait and let them show you how to do it. That's another good one for a young child. If anybody wants copies of these, I'll make them for them. I just bought one copy of each tonight, and that's in the classification of Carl's. It's just a bunch of shapes. That's all I have.
Okay. While Carl's setting up, I'm gonna go over a couple things that I was working on. Carl, if you get ready when I got some things. Did anybody have any opportunities? I got off my schedule when I was over there. Anybody have any opportunities that they might need some help or suggestions on?
I saw her a couple of times.
Okay. Because we had one time people needed lighter wood or thinner wood or something and needed a way to get it or whatever. Any other?
Do you do any measuring before you decide on the shape and the size of your puzzle pieces? Or is that
It's, I
necessary?
think George hit upon it. What it is, it's who is the puzzle for? If it's for an adult, you can go as fine and tricky as you want to go. If it's for a 2-year-old, if this was the size of the puzzle, it may only be 4 pieces. Okay? If it's a 5-year-old, it may be 5 pieces. 6-year-olds, it may be 6. I use that gauge until I get to about 9, and then you can go a little bit. But the pieces, as the kids are younger, you make them bigger because, in theory, somebody's about from that 2-year-old to 6-year-old, that piece should not fit through a toilet paper roll. Should not fit through the hole of a toilet paper roll. Swallow it, so they can't choke on it. But so that's your theory of using it. So that's why if I make puzzles for kids, I might not use the 1/4-inch wood. I might use a 1/2 inch or I may use a 3/4 and then make the pieces bigger. Use the same picture on it, but make the pictures bigger, and then they won't fit through that's just kind of a rule of the thumb. They won't fit through the roll on a toilet paper, and if they don't fit through there, then they can't choke on it. I mean, that's just a rule. So then, to get that, I make the pieces bigger, and I also put them on thicker piece of wood. Maybe use a piece of 3/4 inch pine, maybe a 1/2 inch piece of, maybe a piece of MDF, maybe a piece of plywood or whatever. Because you really don't need, if you're putting it on there, you're covering it up with the pictures. So it's just an idea or suggestion.
You're talking about doing stuff there and all. If you're wanting to make these puzzles and you have a small picture like he had on that thing that he had over there a while ago, and you wanted to come in and make that bigger, is there any way that you can do that?
In this case, he's using the original card.
I know.
You
but
could
what I'm
scan,
saying
you
is
could,
if I have a
you
picture
could,
this big and I want it this big,
you could scan it. You could go to a store and scan it and make it bigger.
is that gonna mess up the pixels on it though?
Not a
It
good,
depends on the quality of the original picture.
big original picture. Depends on the quality of the original picture. But I guarantee you that if you took this, George has got it on a pretty healthy piece of wood, and you made this, let's just say you made this 8 pieces or 6 pieces, and it went to that house where this little boy was, he would go bananas. Does everybody agree with that? He would go bananas. I mean, even whether it was even 4 pieces, he sees his picture on it. I mean, that's the most fun of taking pictures, especially if you take pictures of the grandkids when they come visit you or whatever, and then you make a puzzle and send it to them at Christmas time or whatever it is. It'll be the last package they open that's on the side. They'll go with all the fancy toys, but then when they start working, all of a sudden they'll see a face that they see something they recognize. They will be engrossed with that puzzle.
Suppose you got a picture from your camera and you use the photo paper, and you wanted to put that on there. Is there any way to keep that thing from bleeding?
Well, yeah, like I said, all of these. I think George, didn't you do that too? Is you put them on with.
That's not the original card. My wife wanted to keep the original card.
Okay, so
I
you
made
put
a copy
it
of
put it on with 7. You put it on with 77. Okay, and then I usually take Def varnish and spray it on top before I cut the puzzle.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, I take I use Def. I learned that from this guy right here.
Regular photo paper, I've never had trouble with it bleeding after you get done, you cut it up.
Yeah.
And I never spray anything on top of it though. You know, just wipe
And to
it
be
off.
honest with you, if you look at it, you would think the thicker the paper you put it on, the better the puzzle would be, but it's just the opposite. The thinner the paper is, the better it is. Because then when it cuts, you don't get a lot of paper between there and the wood itself. And if you've done like George was talking about, and put it on the paper, put it on the wood, and let it get to that point of tackiness. You want to really, do it so it stays on. And then George, do you roll it and then put some heavy weights on top of it?
I just wipe it out like that and let it sit a few
Okay.
minutes before I start cutting.
I usually in my case, I wipe it out. I'm not as good as I don't have that skill he has, so I wipe it. I use a roller on it, and then I put a piece of wax paper on top of it, and then I put a board on top of it. And I may leave it there overnight. But that's just my method of doing it, okay?
That's a little insurance, I guess, but I never.
Well, like I said, go. The other thing I had is back to the basics, and Marcus, this is something from Marcus, and it deals with this saw, but you can do it with anything. His switch went out, and he wanted to saw. He called me. So, you can get the new switch, and you can get all the stuff or whatever, but the switch was. So all I did for $5, we got him a switch. 2, because I didn't want to cut any wires. Used just two ends. The ends, the slide ends that'll go into in the inside. What's the proper name of those guys called? You know what I'm talking about? In the end, there's prongs on the inside. I just pulled them out.
Spade lugs.
Spade, okay. And I just bought 2 spades and put it on a switch that would go up and down. Because you really don't need this if you've got this down here. You don't need this switch. You just need, it needs to be working. But I'm saying, for $5, I was able to fix his saw when it was broke one time, and that's just an option here.
I had never used a foot switch until I bought the DeWalt, and I heard that a lot of people were having trouble with the switch.
Yep.
So I said, well, I'll fix that, so I got me a foot switch, and I leave my switch on all the time, so I never turn them on and off.
Okay, now Carl, it's all yours. Let me get out of your way.
Okay, where do you want me to start?
You can do whatever you want. Like I said, let's talk about how you get the stuff so straight and so tiny. Or where do you get the material?
Material?
Yeah.
The pictures themselves?
Or anything, or just the wood. You can do anything. You can do it out of anything, right?
Okay, we'll use this picture as an example. That's a calendar picture. The paper for this calendar picture is not as thin as the one that Hans likes, but it's thicker than the actual photo paper. I'll pass this around. If you look close on the paper, you see it has like a texture on it. And this paper, this calendar is from a company called Lang, L-A-N-G. And what's that bookstore is going out of business? Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble.
And Borders, and they sell the higher quality calendars. I believe Hobby Lobby even has some. But if you look close, you can see the texture on the paper, and this really works out good for jigsaw puzzles.
Most stores, you go into stores in December, you can get all their 2011. I mean, you can, and a calendar. I mean, most calendars that'll give you 12 pictures.
And I went to book a million last Saturday. All their calendars is 50% less now.
And there's a company called calendars.com. Summertime around the end of January, they have a clearance sale, up to 75% off their calendars. So you can get a $25 calendar for $3 to $4. And I believe I bought 15 or 20 calendars last year. That's a great company, good quality calendars. On top of the paper, after I get it glued up, I used a wallpaper roller. I think it's called a J-roller. J-roller. And smooth out the picture, starting with the center and working your way towards the edge of the J-roller. I use, the kind I have is, has a rubber roller, about 6 inches long. And you can get cheaper ones for $2 or so, but I found if you buy a quality one, you only have to buy it once, just like anything else. On top of this picture is one layer of Death spray lacquer. And the Death spray lacquer, for me, it has two purposes. It makes the puzzle last longer, as the whoever's putting it together, make it last 10 times longer. And another thing it does, a trick I learned the hard way, and you'll only hear this. Yeah, this is the J-roller that I have. Good quality. This one's $13 and worth every penny of it.
Make sure it gets smooth. And
Credit card works pretty good.
Hold your nose. That's how I do it at home. Okay. When I want to cut this puzzle out, I do it face up or face down. How would y'all do it?
Face up or face down?
Face up.
Face up,
Okay.
tear the paper.
You could do either.
You're right. If you do it face up, the paper's going to tear off. So I come up with a new method. I do mine face down. But then you can't see your picture or your pattern, right? A lot of people tell you to get another waste board, glue your pattern on, make it the same size as your actual picture, glue your pattern onto the top board, connect them with super glue or duct tape or whatever you have, and you'll have your pattern on top, and you'll cut that out. Wasting wood. My method is after you spray your lacquer on, let it clean, dry real well, turn the pattern upside down on your saw. apply your pattern to the bottom of your picture. The trick is turn your blade upside down. Does that make sense? That way you're cutting on the upstroke instead of the downstroke.
I was wondering why George said that reverse blade, which direction was it cutting for him?
Well, a puzzle blade does not have reverse teeth. Puzzle blade from Flying Dutchman does not have reverse teeth. All point in one direction. A puzzle blade is almost the size of a 3/0 blade. Pretty close.
You need one? No, the other one.
I'll pass one around.
Where's you pass the tube around if you want?
Sure.
Normally, when you cut, you'd have the teeth down.
Normally, yes.
So you're saying turn it around and have the teeth up?
Yes. Pattern would be on top. So,
Why?
What's the advantage of that?
the advantage of this is, you won't cut the paper and you can follow a pattern. If you put the pattern down here. Hmm?
I cut it face up on the one I cut.
With a pattern?
No, you don't.
You didn't have a pattern on it.
No, I didn't have a pattern on it.
But if you have to have a pattern,
Oh, okay.
if you have to put a pattern
That's
on
what
it.
a pattern, okay.
Yeah.
When you get,
For us new guys,
when you get quarter inch by quarter inch pieces, you need a pattern.
I don't have any wood.
Okay, next thing is, how do you put a pattern on here? You can either glue it on with a piece of paper, just like you do a regular scroll saw pattern, or you can mark it on your wood. If this is the back of your piece of wood, and if you, we're going to mark it off like a graph paper. Not exact, but close enough for illustration. Okay. You can do it by hand, and you're going to have it all zigzagged and crooked. But I like to use Incra rulers.
I always knew those were good for something.
now we're gonna find out what you use it for.
And this one, Woodcraft, had this one several years ago, and they quit carrying it, and they were selling these for like $4 a piece. And I wish I bought every one at the time, because nobody makes these anymore. But I use this one and this one more than anything. I got this one at the wood show last year for like $6. It's not an Incra, it's a knockoff brand of it. And I have the angle, which I never use. I'll pass these around. These are relatively cheap, depending on what you call cheap.
They were on sale at half price last month.
At Rockler, the small one, half price would probably be about $20.
No, it's 16.
16? That's a good price.
I think the 6 inch was 16.
And once you look at those, you can pretty much self-explanatory how to use those.
What do you do with those?
I will take a draw for grid with it.
Did you mount that to the miter slide, or did it come that way?
What's that?
The ruler, did you mount it to the?
Comes that way.
It comes that way. Comes that way.
Then you freehand draw your pattern, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, if you mark it, then you can freehand your pattern on there when you're cutting. Of course, as you're cutting, you're going to want to put a ball and socket on each one. So you can just do those by eye, no problem. After you do 3,000 or 4,000 puzzles, like I have in the past, you won't even need to mark it up anymore. This one,
I think somebody asked how he got them straight. Somebody asked that question. Okay.
this one is pre-marked. That's another piece of spalted pecan. But you can see how I marked that piece up using the Incra rules, and then putting a ball and socket on each section. Now, if you don't want to use the Incra rules, I find these very helpful. If you buy them in brass, they're for router bit measurements for your router table. If you buy them in brass, they're like $15 for 5 pieces. If you go to a hardware store, you can buy them in stainless steel for like 30 cents a piece. And these are called keyways. They come in almost any size you want. And these are also great for measuring. Okay, after we have the everything measured up, your balls and sockets marked out on every piece, after you have everything already cut out, you're going to have a little bit of pencil line left. I don't like using the erasers. These thin foam pads are great for erasing. In fact, this belongs to the store, and that's a great price. $1 a pad's a great price. I prefer these over the thicker ones. They're just a lot friendlier for your hands as you're sanding off the pencil lines.
Use the grit side or the back side?
The grit side. Grit side.
You mentioned the phone, and I thought, well, maybe the phone does something like an eraser.
I have tried this before, and this didn't work very well. So scratch that off your list.
It's a block of wood, just sandpaper on it?
It's a block of wood sandpaper.
It's too
It's too coarse. These
puzzles are so tiny.
These work great when you put your puzzle back together and you still have your lines on them. This will do two things. It'll erase your lines, and it will also get rid of your fuzzies.
You do that with puzzle assemble, right?
Correct. With puzzle assembly.
Each individual piece.
Yeah, I'd like to see you do that.
Okay. These puzzles, these burl puzzles, you'll see all these voids in them, front and back, from the different textures. There should be one over here. I'll pass the show. All these voids that are in this piece, they might, as you're cutting, they might crack all the way through and mess up your puzzle piece. So before I start, I'll get some super glue and seal the crack or the void, making it a lot tougher and stiffer. This one has glue around it and sanded. After the glue dries, I'll sand it off with these paper, these thin pads.
Would you not want to fill the voids with epoxy, anything?
For that one, no, because this one, I would not cut this. I would cut around it, make such as. You can see this piece is a big piece because of the wood itself.
Oh, yeah.
You use gap filling CA?
I just use thin CA glue. This right here, I like these a lot. You can get them come in a 4-pack at the dollar store. And I don't know about y'all, but every time I open up a bottle of super glue, within a week it's dry. So I prefer these.
Have you heard anything about that super glue when you buy it like that, you're supposed to keep it in the icebox?
Yes, but I always knock it over. Have you ever knocked over super glue in the refrigerator?
That must be a mess.
You only do it once.
Works for me, super glue. I keep
keep stored upside down,
Upside down?
and if it starts leaking or anything, it forms a seal immediately, and I've gotten months out of my soup with this,
Okay.
with this,
Refrigerator or freezer?
no, I just leave it upside down,
Okay.
just on the shelf, as long, the liquid has to cover the opening, that's a crucial thing.
The idea behind the thin CA on the piece is just to keep it from disintegrating further, right?
Correct. It'll harden it up.
Okay.
You could use a thick CA glue, but I haven't found the thick CA glue at 4 packs for $1.
I try to secret out on that stuff when it hardens, go to the faucet and put that hot water on it,
Mhm.
and it'll come back to working.
The only problem I found with these small tubes is it's very easy to get on your fingers.
Yeah, that's just don't do it like
How
this.
about the blue neoprene gloves when you use it?
Yeah, use those gloves.
Keep a bottle of around.
You do wrap your puzzle before you cut it, don't you?
No. I cut the puzzle first, and then I have like a piece of scrap wood. I'll put the puzzle on, then I'll put it in my shrink wrap machine and seal it. Well,
Carl, I think he means, do you put any tape or anything on it to lubricate the blade?
oh no. I just cut it straight
Just
wood.
do the plain wood.
Plain wood.
Okay.
Just like this is right here. I'll cut that straight with no wrapping on it. Any question on that quick process? Yeah.
Not a question, but, Incra, I've never used that one, but Incra's got a little thing too for laying out grids.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have, but I haven't
Does it
gotten
work?
one.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'd like to have one.
Specifically to lay out grid.
They're pretty pricey.
Yeah.
Have to sell a few more puzzles before I get one.
Yeah, all of this stuff is pretty pricey.
I think you go to the sewing department, a lot of places like that, you know, I know my mother used to do a lot of sewing, she had a little wheel that went by there, I think if you had some way of lining it up right, you could just run along it and leave these dots all the way along it.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't tried that, but,
You also get sewing people, you can get plexiglass, they're about that long, about that wide, and you can make your grid out of it. It would be really easy. You can see through it, and yet you could trace your lines.
Mm-hmm.
You
Okay.
were talking about cutting the puzzle, without any kind of adhesive or anything to hold it together. One of the things that helps on that is if you might have a table.
Yes.
It slides around a lot better and it's easier to work with.
Okay, I know this is gonna be in somebody's mind without it being asked. I do have a website where I sell these type puzzles that I make. And if you're interested, this one is going to be taken apart because there's not a good finish on it. So I'm going to spend at least another hour sanding this one puzzle here before I have it available for sale. But this one will go for around $60 on the website. This one will be between $80 and $120.
Carl, how many of those do you sell a week?
A week or a year?
How long did it take you to do the one you just said that, the one you got in your hand?
This one?
When you got, no, the one you said 125.
This one, I can do 2 of them. I could probably do 6 of these in a day.
Can you sell 6 of that?
Since you got colored.
Wouldn't be here, would you?
This one probably took me an hour to cut.
Is that all?
That's about it, about an hour. It started out this color. And I put Danish oil on it, turn it this color. And
Before or after the cut?
after the cutting.
You better speed it up.
We both have to speed up a lot.
I'd be too
You
scared
drew
to
the
just mess
grid
it up,
on
I'd
that
have to go
just
so
like
slow,
yours?
it'd take me 3 days to cut that.
This one was probably the hardest puzzle because of the wood I've cut, because it's so soft and tender. This is another piece of it. This came from a pallet. Luckily I found that. Go away. These will sell anywhere from $25 to $40 a piece.
Why is that less expensive than the other one?
It's not as hard, and I can stack cut these. I'll stack cut probably 3 of these at a time, 3 or 4 at a time.
Why do you stack cut, Carl?
Why do I stack cut them?
Yeah, other than being fast, why do you stack cut?
So I have more inventory.
Well, but another inventory, another reason for stack cutting.
More resistance for cutting.
More resistance, it makes it easy. I mean, what I'm saying, if you're having problems cutting thin, if you stack a little bit thicker, it'll be more resistance and it'll be easier to cut and easier to make those turns and stuff, and it'll look better. Sometimes it's so thin, your blade cuts through them so fast, it's hard to control.
You got this from a pallet?
A pallet, yes. If y'all know Clark McMullen, I think is his name, the guy who makes the pet urns, I had a piece of burl puzzle, a little bit smaller than this, and he gave me probably $500–600 worth of burls, bowl blanks for it. So they are sellable, and if you have the urge to ever cut one. Questions?
I just don't, having made a couple like that, I just don't see how you get them that small and that straight
Right there.
and can cut them that fast.
Oh yeah, that fast.
After
I mean,
after you cut so many thousands of them, you just.
because every line you have intersects at each.
I really have a pattern. It's etched on my glasses.
I mean, I can see you can kind of cut one straight all the way through and get those lines, but then when you keep going down through there, segmenting that way, but then when you cut them back the other way, all your lines line up. I just don't know how you do
Well, if you get a starting point on each side of the piece of wood, such as this one.
Hold it on the saw. Hold it on the saw over here so everybody can see it. If you hold it right on the saw, then the downward, it's already downward there.
If you find a reference point on each side of the piece of wood,
move it in closer to the blade.
such as right here.
Closer to the blade. Other, there it is.
That's the overhead camera. You don't have that camera on, Bob.
Yeah, he does. It's right there. There it is.
Okay. If you find a reference point, such as
You're in there now.
such as this, you can see how the end of this cut line is right here next to this spalted dark piece, the dark line, and just visually cut a straight line going this way with making your balls and sockets. Does that make sense?
Okay, so
Instead of cutting long ways, if you cut short distances instead of long distances, it's much easier to make straight lines.
okay, now you strip cut your puzzles, correct?
Correct. I cut one
That's what I
strip
was
at a
trying to
time.
say, yeah, okay.
Well, there's 5 methods of doing it.
And then after I cut one or two, I'll cut all the strips at one time. And then I'll come back and put 2 or 3 strips together, then cut this way.
Ah. So he's stack cutting the strips.
Not stack cutting. I'll have like these three strips. I'll cut this way first. Then I'll come back and cut this strip. That way-
Camera's not on, Bob.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Is this better?
It's not for the recording we're doing, it's just not on for up there.
I got you.
So
I
he's
see.
still looking.
Okay, I'll cut this strip first. I'll cut all of them out.
Turn toward Bob. Okay.
Okay, I'll cut these strips first. All the way down. Then when they're all cut out, I'll take 3 of these strips and cut this way.
Why just 3?
Oh.
Because it's a short distance. It's easier to make a straight line with a short distance than a long distance.
You're not stack cutting, you're cutting through strips.
Correct. Does that make sense? Okay. And always sign it. Sign your work somewhere on the piece.
What do you hold those 3 strips together?
Fingers.
The nipples?
They're in a
Long
lock.
sockets holds them together.
I hold everything with my fingers.
That's all when you cut it, you just.
Rather than slip fit sockets, he's
Don't
got
those interlocks
regular
hold it?
interlocking
Carl.
sockets.
Why would you not wanna put a piece of the clear plastic glue on top of that thing and hold it?
Well, you
Like
could. I just
like you're stealing books and stuff?
you could do that, but for me, I just don't find it necessary. It's just another
They're
wasted
interlocks,
step.
aren't they? Aren't they interlocked?
Yes, they're all interlocking pieces.
Yeah, so you're just squeezing.
Mm-hmm.
Squeezing them down.
So
You're not
after
worried
you
about
cut the
sliding.
first 3, you add 3 more to it and just keep adding
Mm-hmm.
3 at a time? And cut a little bit further?
Mm-hmm.
Keep all the pieces together.
When you make a jigsaw puzzle, such as this one, instead of throwing all your pieces in a pile, put it back together when you get through cutting. You'll be glad you did.
In other words, don't use that little screen box.
I don't use it. But the screen is good because
He's going all the way.
after you cut your puzzle, you can have it turned upside down on a scrap piece of wood and put a piece of screen across it and then vacuum it off. Okay, that's a quick explanation. I do have a couple of videos on my website if you wanted to watch them, get a more detailed explanation. It's on scrowsawvideo.com. So, Hans,
Okay.
it's all yours.
And like I said, as he was saying, people just do it, like he's saying, he's doing this. So he's basically what they call strip cutting, okay? Now, there's 3 or 4 different ways of doing it. There's also what they call step cutting, which also will solve the problem of staying together. What you do is you step cut, you would cut this one, and then you might cut this one, you know, and so you work like this down the pattern versus cutting a whole strip. So just another method of doing it,
I forgot one thing.
okay?
After you have your def spray already on your pattern, if you get this, I don't know what you call this kind of cloth, what's that called?
Oh, synthetic steel wool.
Synthetic steel wool. If you get the finest one, then just rub over it to get it. Always your lacquer's going to have some sort of air bubbles in it. And this is the finest grade, the white one that came off the shelf from the store. Just rub off all the bubbles. It'll be very smooth.
When you cut yours face down like that after you spray it with def, do you ever find that you get little mini scratches in it from just rubbing it on the surface?
If I put Deft on it, I've never had a scratch on it.
That one's got some.
Well, this is banged around a lot.
I was gonna say, you look at the left bottom corner.
Your synthetic steel wool will heat those scratches.
I think we talked about it, I think we talked about it at Christmas or in December one. You know, you could, like I said, make sure you got this well waxed. And if you had to, you could put a piece of wax paper or something. I mean, if you were getting scratched, you could put a piece of wax paper on your piece to go with it, and it slides around. And then you basically, that wax paper is on here. You're cutting it out. What difference it makes? Doesn't make a difference, but it's protecting a little bit. If you happen to have a table that might have some, flaws in it, but nobody has flaws. Their tables are spotless.
Is there anybody interested, I hope, in making a puzzle before the next meeting? Besides Rob?
Yeah.
You are?
Besides Rob.
I got you started. Because you took the last one.
Okay, thank you, sir. And we may have some additional questions in a second here. I'm gonna do a little bit different stuff. Number one is, How many people got this magazine in the mail? Great magazine. I've already done 3 things in it. So
Is that the new one?
that's a brand new one. Just came out, got it Saturday. That's where my thing that's over there. I don't know where it is. Somebody has stole it already? There it is. Somebody took it already. Okay. But anyway, that's a good one there. And this one right here, haven't done it yet. Was going to do it tonight, but I'm going to get out of time. But this one right here, if you got this one, a great project is right here. To do what George is doing, what Carl did, is here's some backing, here's some pieces. Guess what size they are? Business card size. What you do is you take your friend's business card, you make a puzzle out of it, and you've got a little frame to go with it. And it's in this Scroll Saw magazine. I just thought that you'd see that. And what it's saying, kind of a neat gift to give to somebody, and they ain't going to throw it away if you make it out of their business card. Well, I'm just saying. But I'm saying, so that was a neat idea. That's what one. That's another puzzle. It's a puzzle. It's another puzzle.
An idea that comes to mind with that is we could have some fun with the vendors at the woodworking show with that. Get their card, cut it up, give it back to them.
Yep, and you give them the frame and give them the puzzle and thing. Okay, I found this book. Neat book. Great book for cutting puzzles. I mean, it has a lot of stuff. It's basically talking about what we talked about, heirloom puzzles. Creating heirloom puzzles. Which, you know, I can't do in an hour or whatever, just like, you know, Carl, what I'm saying. But you can make heirloom puzzles, and they could be pictures of they could be photographic type pictures, a little bit bigger. Maybe it's the area where they lived. Maybe it's a picture of the lake setting or whatever, where they live. You can make an heirloom picture for somebody to give to them. And the odds are, if you make a jigsaw puzzle, scroll sawed, and it's wood, and you give it to someone, the chances are it will get put together 5 times. Which is not what you normally get with a cardboard puzzle. You know, maybe a tray puzzle or something. But I'm saying, great book. I enjoyed it. They showed the step cutting. I'm going to do one thing if we can get the camera. Can we get the camera there? That's basically showing the way he's doing it. The way Carl is doing it right there. See the grid pattern type deal? And see, in this case, it's what he calls it step cutting instead of strip cutting. He does strip cutting here too, but see how he's step cutting? But see, he's decided, see how he's got the number? He did piece 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, so on, and he steps his way down, and that gives him the ability to give them the sizes exactly the same. But it's a good book. Just send it back this way. I'll pass it around. Just make sure it gets back this way. Okay, thanks, Bob. Okay, what I'm going to do is this was something I learned, and this is a fun one. This is called. It's not Carl. It's not George. This is called one-cut puzzle making. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make those my first 3 cuts don't count. I'm going to take this edge off of my board, okay? But I'm going to cut this right in front of you fast. And this is fun. This is more fun. And the other side of this, never, ever will a puzzle be the same. It will never be the same. It will always be different. Right now what I'm doing is I'm just cutting off the edge. I'm sorry. I'm not quite as speedy as Carl was. But I noticed Carl didn't demonstrate how to do one of this in an hour, in 15 minutes. I thought he was going to at least do one of those small plant puzzles. Okay, now I've got my piece. This is a calendar, okay? We talked about calendars. Now, I'm going to show you this one in a second. That's a calendar puzzle. people were throwing away. I took them out of the trash. You got a stack of them and you do them and they make neat puzzles. This particular one, somebody was asking, this particular one I put on hardboard, only because it was free. Yeah, still wood, it works fairly well for puzzles. Okay, now, the cool part about this is the one cutting puzzle. What I'm going to do, I'm sorry, is that you can see that right there? I can't see. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here. And what I'm going to do is I am going to cut it one time. I'm going to cut the whole puzzle, inserting the blade one time. Okay? And I'm going to come out right there. Okay? And when I get done, I will not have, all my pieces will not, I got to say it this way, all my pieces will not be interlocking, but they will all be different shapes, sizes, and variations, which will make a very neat puzzle. Okay? So here goes. I'm going to do it in front of you, and if I screw up, that's the way it goes. I'm going a little bit bigger than I normally would just because of the, what I'm doing is I'm working myself around, I'm not used to this deadness, but around the puzzle. I'm working my way around. I'm making sure that I don't cut a line that I've already cut. The first one you do, you're gonna say, oh no, I'm gonna screw up, But after you do it a while, it is more fun and it's kind of relaxing in a way. And what you get, it comes out really interesting. I can't see. Can you see? I'll try to blow it off a little bit. I apologize. He took my blower away from me. Raise your hand if you've done this before. Okay, you got one. Did I see one hand? I can't look up too much. It's hard. That droplet of water was looking like a cut line. Okay? Nope, I'm sorry. I now have two pieces, okay? And then, all I do, depending on who this is for, I cut across these and make my pieces. As you can see, none of the pieces are the same size. None of them the same shape. They're never the same. Okay, here's an example of one you can pass around. I mean, I would normally do it a little bit. So now what I would do,
Turn this way.
I'm sorry. Let's put this here. Okay?
This one hadn't been cut into pieces.
Huh?
This one hadn't been cut in pieces.
I intentionally didn't do it in pieces. So if somebody wants to take it apart, they can see. So here's this. Can you see it on the camera? Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's just pretend. I'm going to make it easy so I can do it. So what I might do is I might go here like this, and I might go like this. Okay, so now I got one piece. Now that's my piece. Okay, and then I throw it my thing. Okay, now here I could make this a single piece if I wanted to. I could go this and make this a single piece. I could make a funky piece here. I could go like this, come in, and go like this and come out there. I could go here and go here and come out there. Oops, no, it's a small piece. That's the way it goes. Okay, I could come here. Oops, that's funny. Oh, so I tore up, but that's fine. I mean, I'm trying to do this fast, and I got a number 5 blade in there. Okay, so that gets that one piece, okay? Then I do the same over here, and what you can do here is you can mess with people. So now you got a corner that's really not a corner, okay? And you come in here, and you can do this here. You can do that there. You could do this here. You could. So it's not an interlocking puzzle, but it's a puzzle. And as I said, the person who won the boomerang box has half of the puzzle this way, half of the puzzle. Well, let's say half of the puzzle is this way, half of the puzzle is about 40% of the other is the other way, and then what I did is I added some twists. I added some pictures and different things in that. So now, there's what that puzzle looks like. Okay, now, I still got a couple minutes, right? Okay, now, this is going to be okay. Trying to find something that would work good for that. But I guess this will be as good as anything. Okay. Okay. Now, this is going to be big because I want it to be big so somebody can see it. Okay. What I did. Okay. These are pictures. You can make them any size you want. Okay. So what I'm going to do is for this one, I'm going to. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to cut out the cat. Not cutting out really good because I'm short on time. Okay, now, I'll put a cat in this one. This will look good. Okay, now, there's a couple ways I could do this. I could put, I mean, this is kind of big, but I'm just saying, I'm trying to make it big so it's easier to see. I could put it on the face, but to hold it on the face would be real tough. Now, what I can do is I could take one method, I could take blue painter's tape and cover the area where I want to put this picture of this cat, and I could put it on there, okay? Or, I could come over here, and as long as I only put spray adhesive, rubber cement, or this permanent glue, and only put it on one item or the other, I can peel it away very easily. And I always do it by putting it on the picture. Okay? Now, the biggest problem you've got to think about when you're putting something on the back of a picture, if it's something like this, it's not a big problem. But if it's wording, remember, it's backwards. So just remember that, okay? So I'm going to take this, and just for this right here, I'm going to stick this cat right there. So I stuck it down. Okay, I wish they hadn't done that. Okay, I'm going to stick this cat right here like this. Okay, now, I could stick this in if I was doing like Carl did and did a bunch of, this is big. I did it for demonstration purposes. But I can make my puzzle pieces, and then what I do is I stick a leg, a tail, an ear of this animal close to where that line of those other pieces were. So then I cut this out. And then once this is out, then I do my puzzle pieces around that, okay? So what I would do here is, in this case, I'm just going to start from the edge. How am I doing on time? Do I got a couple minutes? Okay. While I'm cutting this, over in this box, over on my left hand side, I've got a cardboard box, a paper box, and in that paper box I have a bunch of cardboard. They're probably 11 by 17 cardboard things, which if somebody wants, they work very well if you want to make trays to carry your puzzles around, or you know, if you're cutting something out, you want something to put it on it. I mean, a lot of times you use boards in your shop, and if you use boards in your shop, you end up using all your good boards as trays to carry your stuff around. So this is just cardboard. It's very stiff cardboard. It's very stiff corrugated. And, you know, take what you need. George, if you will just kind of pass that box around for me. Right. What happened? Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. This is what it is. You can do the white stuff you want, but it's this, see? If you put something on, it's just nice for, you know, in shop. If you don't need it, just throw it back. I mean, I'll take what I get. I got it, and instead of throwing it away, I kept it, and instead of throwing it at the shop or office, I kept it. Now, next month, we've got that expert person coming in on showing us how to use the scroll saw blade, the spiral blades, and you know, I need to use them because I don't use them. I use a 3 or a 5 most of the time, and you know, maybe there's other ways of getting stuff done.
This website I can put on the board, they're probably the most prominent digital puzzle makers that there are. Their puzzles start out between $700 a piece and up to $10,000 doing the same process.
I was given Paul sent us one today. Is that the one? No. Nope. Paul sent us one today that the guy only makes, you know, he can spend, he's not as fast as Carl. He spends months just to do one puzzle. But they're all intricate spiral cuts and different cuts.
I was reading this thing, why do you get like $1.50 and 25 cents a week? If I read it right, I just glanced at the article. You get something like somewhere around $1.50 to $1.85 per each.
Okay, now. Okay, because I only did the glue on one side. It's off. Can you see that? See, it's off. Now, I now have a cat out of a flower, which is really a great, you know. But now, I've got the cat out of the flower. Now, if I want to, I now can cut this cat into a puzzle. So now that even makes it a little bit harder, okay? I normally wouldn't make it that big, but I was figured it was easier to show this way. Now, I could finish this up by doing it Carl's method, or I could finish it up doing a one-cut puzzle with this. Only this has this, and what I can do is I can one-cut this. By the time I put the thing together, all the pieces would be very similar. So, that's the one thing I had. Any other questions, comments, suggestions, other things that people might want? Yes, sir.
The depth spray, is it gloss or?
I think you can get it both ways.
Whichever you prefer.
I think you can get it both ways. I usually I'm bad. I usually get the gloss. That's just me. Any other questions?
The 1/4-inch plywood you're using, where's a good supply of that?
Not Home Depot.
Not Home Depot?
Or Lowe's.
Where?
Not Home Depot or Lowe's.
Yeah.
You want the good quality stuff.
You want some good quality. You need some multi layers in it.
The Swanee lumber carrier?
They might, but I don't think they carry 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch. But
Hardwoods, is that the one up northwest?
Hardwood zinc, I know
Hardwood
carries
zinc,
1/8 inch and 1/4 inch, and Baltic birch.
$23 a sheet of Hardwoods Incorporated, and if you have a car, they'll slice it up for you so you can get in your car.
And like I said, when you think about it, you don't have to use a whole lot of it. Oh, I was going to do one more thing. Okay. I just want to show you this from that standpoint. Okay, here's my puzzle I'm going to do. I would cut the edges to make it. I always make it larger because that way I get a good edge. I think George or somebody said that in their thing. Instead of trying to do exactly 4x6 print on a 4x6 piece, you know, trying to lay it out and get it so the edges don't curl or whatever, I always go larger. Okay, now, there's an opportunity that a lot of us have. Now, if I started to do this and did the cutting I'm not going to cut this because I don't want to have to finish this today. Okay, but if I was doing this like Carl was doing it, I do this and I'm cutting my thing. Doggone it! I can't cut this thing. I got a problem. I mean, it's not going to cut. What am I going to do?
Use a spiral blade.
Okay. I ran out of spiral blades. Okay, now, all kidding aside. No. You can do that too. But what you can do is there's nothing says that I can't cut this in half. Can't cut it here. You know, I could cut this in thirds and make, you know, six puzzles, because once I cut this off, I'm still going to have my tabs and stuff on here, which I go through. But it's something to think about. You know, just, yeah, you can use the spiral blades, but I'm just saying, you don't, the saw is not a problem.
You can start in the middle and cut it down and cut your tabs and everything.
Yeah, you can cut this right here because this will spin.
Yeah.
This will spin, and now I got two pieces. Once I get this now, this piece is only half this big, so it'll spin. Okay?
Using a spiral blade is like using an easy wood tool when you're turning. It gets the job done, but it's not smooth.
But like I said, how many people are coming on Saturday? Okay, anybody that can come, I really appreciate it. We're going to give it a try, and I hope you got something out of tonight. Is there anything else any questions you might have? I got about 3 more minutes. Is there any questions that we haven't answered maybe in this area?
What do you think about this stuff? In this Carbon magazine they had this time, the paper, and it has the thing you can print it, and then you pull your stuff off the back of it and
okay. Would you like to do it the cheap way? Would you like to do it the cheap way?
Well,
go to the store. Any office supply store sells them, and it's called 8.5 by 11 labels.
Labels?
8.5 by 11 label stock.
Well, I noticed it was pretty expensive.
Well, 8.5 by label stock is not that bad.
I'm talking about that stuff that was in the magazine.
Yeah, but it's made. And what's funny, it was made by a kid. I see it in the magazine all the time. It was invented by some kid, and they did the proceeds for his brother who was sick, and that's how it started. But I like to use it. I gave some to George, and I've given some to Carl. To me, I like using it for something like this. Okay? And you're going to say, why that? Well, because what I can do is I can run that piece of label stock. That's not 8.5 by 11. I probably put 2 on. I can run it through my copier, and now I have all these outlines, patterns for all these small items that are on here, okay? Then all I do is cut them up. And I don't have to mess with glue. I don't have to mess with paste. All I've got to do is take a razor knife and go flip. I don't have to worry about tape. I don't have to worry about anything. I can just glue it on. I can just glue those little pieces. I can just stick those little pieces on all my scrap pieces of wood, and I got what I want. It's not something I use all the time. I think George found some advantage. It helps sometimes when you're just want to do something quick and you don't want to mess around with the glue and all that stuff. But it's got its advantage. But 8.5 by 11.
All the office supply places.
Yeah, they'll have it and they sell it in a package. But it's 8.5 by 11. Now I'll tell you another cheating way of doing it is if you do UPS. If your business does UPS, those labels are almost. They're 5.5 by 8.5. Is that right? Yeah, they're 5.5 by 8, and they'll have 2 to a sheet. But they're free. Okay, I didn't say that. But anyway, it's just label stock is what it is. And you just print it, you run it through your laser printer and do it. Any other questions? That was a good one. That was good. I'll bring Saturday.
Where'd you get this UPS stuff?
If you have a UPS number and you're in the UPS, I mean, you basically can't buy the stock. They furnish it for you.
Ask David.
Who?
David Hughes,
Oh, yeah.
the guy that owns this place.
You have to have an account.
You have to have an account, and they give it to them, but you can't buy it. I mean, you can buy it, and some of you can buy
I got
it.
a son-in-law, I'll find out, he's one of their managers.
Okay. Anything else? Yes, sir. Oh, somebody else. Okay. But I appreciate it. I'll bring some labels. Anything else that somebody wants to see on Saturday? Anybody else that wants to see something? What I thought I would do is George made me 2 jigs, and I'm going to bring both of those jigs. One's a jig that he uses, and you've probably already seen it a couple times. He uses it for his intarsia. It's a jig he made for me in response to a jig I made for him. He made me that jig, and I made him a 0 clearance jig that goes on this saw. And I can show people how to make a 0 clearance. You know, you can use the magnets you want. This is helpful. I guess it's 0 clearance if you're doing larger stuff, because what it does is it's kind of like an oxymoron. I made him a 0 clearance hole, but extended his table to this size. So therefore, if he's sawing big stuff, he doesn't get the rock. And he probably hasn't used it.
Yeah, I use it, I had.
Okay, but I'm just saying, it's a neat way to do it, and I can show people how to do it on their table and make it very easy. I can bring that, so if somebody wants to do anything else you might want to see on Saturday.
This coming Saturday, if anybody wants to make some puzzles, I can bring a couple of 100 calendar pictures. If somebody wants to pick them, I'll bring them.
Okay, and I'm going to bring.
I'll bring the.
Okay, remember, bring some scrapwood. Somebody just brought some in. They brought this stuff in, and like I said, this will make some gorgeous boxes. You know, just like this will make gorgeous boxes.
Well, bring your tool to show how to line that blade up there so that when you put puzzle pieces in, they'll go in the place like they're supposed to rather than being out of line.
You mean so they're 90 degrees? They're 90 degrees? I got the tool is right here, and I won't mess with it, but right here, let's pretend this was a piece of pine. I'm not going to cut it. This is your best tool right here. What you do is take this, turn on your saw, take a piece of wood like this. Bigger the better. That'll fit through your thing. All I would do, and I don't want to cut this wood.
You
Okay?
show that in the magazine too.
What you're going to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this piece of wood right here and cut about that far in. Okay? Then what I'm going to do, turn the saw off, take that around. I wish I had.
All you have to do is put a groove in it and turn it around to the back.
Here,
match it up.
I'll do it on this. This is mine. This is mine. Okay. Here it is, okay? So I got a piece of wood. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on. Okay? Now, I'm just going to take this and rotate this whole piece around like this with the saw nut going. And see, we're not square. We haven't been square all night.
Oh, no, we gotta start over again.
The whole show's been for nothing.
See, now, if we're square, I can see right here. If we were square, when I turn this around like this, can you get your camera right there? See, if I was square, that blade would have fit right in. It's not square.
Get your hand on it. It's over. Yeah, okay, all right, it's on the other side.
You can see the picture up there, it's not square.
Oh, okay. That's the one we're doing right there. See? It's not square. So, that's just for kicks and giggles. I got another piece of wood. I think I do. No, I don't. Okay, let's guess I'll use this.
You don't have to go that deep with it.
Now, if you're a person like me, I gotta remember, okay, was it this cut or that cut?
Hopefully the straight one.
Close. I'm still not exact, but I'm close. It should just slide right back in there. And the reason I say the thicker the better, because you get some torque of the blade that if you did it down here at 3/4 inch, it may be perfectly straight, but it may be off a little bit at the top. But we can talk about that. Anything else we need to talk about on Saturday? Yes, that's what I need. I'm sorry, I'm done. I apologize. I'm done. Thanks a lot.
Don't let it happen again.
I promise I will not let it happen again.
You'll watch 1 minute.